Welcome to Wild. I'm your host, Robin Lavasser. They say our biggest fear is not that we are inadequate. It's being powerful beyond measure. In this podcast, I will share how to break through imaginary ceilings, lean into success, discovering your purpose, and understanding how to create the business and life of your dreams. From failures to triumphs and all the tactics in between, let's jump into the wild arena together. Welcome back to Wild with Robin Lavasser. Talk about wild. Have y'all ever seen Post Malone? Because I personally have not. And, there's all this country crossover. And if you're a bit of a country music diehard, which I would call myself a pretty diehard music fan in general, but I certainly, especially in my 20s, 30s, 40s, not quite 50 yet, I have fallen more and more in love with just straight up country music. And I would say my two genres that I listen to the most are probably Christian music and country music. I do a lot of it. And, as different artists have crossed over into the country music genre. Yeah, it's okay, but you've not really loved it. At least I have not. There's some great things. There's some good songs, if you will, but I've not loved any of those artists that have done a lot of crossover. So you could call me a little more traditional. Well, my husband and I and a couple friends got the ability to go to Stagecoach, which is kind of the country music festival of Coachella. And I promise this is going to work its way into a great lesson for you. So just hang with me for a minute. So here we are. We get down to the Coachella Stagecoach, if you will, which is the country music version. It's the second time that we have gotten to go. I got to go, probably close to 7 years ago or so. Different experience. And then this time went down and was really excited about all of the artists but one. And when I say all of the artists, the ones that the headliners, if you will, the last 3 shows of the night is kind of when the big dogs play. And I was really excited. There was a few that I'd never seen before, Riley Green, Ella Langley. There was some that I was so excited to see live. And I don't know about you guys, but total side note, there is something just therapeutic for my soul. We all have our thing, the golf course, the ocean, different things. I love live music outdoors. I think live music outdoors, especially on a warm night, is it's like fuel for my soul. So super enjoyable to go down there. And the very last night, all day kind of leading up to it, we had a disappointment the night before with a windstorm. And so they canceled one of the artists, but then put the show back on after an emergency evacuation. Imagine that chaos. We think we have chaos and loans. Imagine emergency evacuating 80,000 people out of a venue and then bringing them back in and getting them updated to charge back in to make it for the last 2 shows of the night. Kind of crazy. That's a different note. I sat at Stagecoach, and the whole day on Sunday, the headliner for Sunday night was Post Malone. And we all know that Post, who people tend to call Posty in this world, Posty he has made a crossover into country music. And I've watched him before on TV, and I've enjoyed some of his collabs that he's done. But I was not super excited. In fact, that day, as we were sitting at our RV, kind of playing cards on the morning stall before the venue opened, we're all sitting there talking. And every day we would turn on the artists that we wanted to listen to. And I turned on Amazon Music top play songs for Post Malone, and we start listening. And yeah, there are a couple songs that I know in the country genre, and he does, 1 or 2 songs in the I don't know if we call it the pop, or the rock or the, hip hop culture type of genre where he's singing. And I just didn't know the music really well. I wasn't really super enjoying the music. And I thought to myself, I think we'll probably go home early tonight. I am going to be exhausted already. We were joking that we were going to be too old to be at Stagecoach potentially, or certainly old to go 3 days of country music. And so, it's Sunday night. I thought we'll probably leave early. And my cousin is the exact opposite. And she was ecstatic. Post was the one that she wanted to see more than anybody, but she has a little more crossover in her blood on the genres. So she was super excited. Well, we get to that night. And first of all, leading up to Post Malone was Brooks and Dunn, which was brilliant because, man, are they just a kick. And they are right up my alley. The very first concert I ever saw was Brooks and Dunn, and they still absolutely bring it to the stage. So a complete blast to watch them, knew every song. And then out walks Post Malone. Now, I wouldn't call myself a prude or ultra conservative or judgmental or those things, although we all have our things. And out walks Post Malone. If you know anything about Post Malone, this man is covered in tattoos all the way over his face. He is dressed in a what you would call a denim grout fit, if you will. So instead of a gray outfit, it's all denim. And he walks out and he's immediately lighting up a cigarette and drinking a beer, which is great. We're at the Coachella of Stagecoach, if you will, country music. And he starts talking. And as much as I thought, okay, here we go, I'm going to sit down. I'm probably not going to know most of the songs that he does. I know, one or two. And I had already kind of warned my husband, maybe we sneak out of here early and go back and start packing to get home tomorrow. And all of a sudden, Post Malone starts talking and he makes everybody laugh. And you can tell he's got everybody kind of giggling and he's singing his first song. And I want to say his first song was a cover. And it's a song that everybody knew. So he breaks the ice by making everybody feel really comfortable. And as he's on stage, he's dancing to where you can't help but smile because you know he's smiling, because you know he's enjoying himself. And he owns what he knows and doesn't know. He owns that he's not a classic country artist. He owns that he is Post Malone, if you will, doing crossover. And he honors a bunch of people with each song. So he did a couple of his own, which I ironically ended up really enjoying. I probably wouldn't enjoyed them if they came out first. And so I think of metaphors for that in our business. If you immediately tell someone, oh, you don't want to do that, you want to do this program instead. Maybe you stick on the line that they're familiar with before you introduce something new to make them comfortable. So he started with a cover song that everybody could sing to. And then after, I think 1 or 2, maybe 3 cover songs, he sang one of his own, went back to some covers, sang a couple of his own again, and then finished with cover songs. Every cover song that he had, he honored the artist that originally created it and why he loved to sing it so beautifully that the storytelling couldn't help but make you want to watch his spin on that song and understand why he loves it as well. He asked for permission a lot on stage, if you guys wouldn't mind. And even though there were quite a few F words and everything that he said, he had such a gratitude, such a confidence, such an awareness of who he was, how he explained what he was doing and why he was doing it, and how much fun and passion he had for being able to be part of all of it. I couldn't help but think of sales metaphors. When you sit down with that first $1 million loan, and maybe you've been working really hard on first-time homebuyers forever, and all of a sudden you have your biggest client, or you sit down with a whale of a real estate agent, or maybe you all of a sudden get asked about a reverse mortgage or a one-time construction loan that you know nothing about. Maybe you just have clients that are incredibly hard. Maybe you have cultural differences, or things just don't feel like an automatic fit. How far does it go for you to have confidence with humility? How far does it go when you can tell a few stories, but make it more about them and their comfort than your own before you introduce your knowledge pieces? How far does it go to show incredible gratitude for not only the industry people you've learned from, other people, maybe the referral source, different things, but give great honor? How far does it go to copy pros that already have it figured out, where you can take something that they do so well and say, man, I'm going to put that in my system? And maybe you don't sit right in front of the client and say, I'm copying you right now. Maybe you don't sit down in front of a client and say, hey, I'm copying you right now. But maybe you sit down and with your team and say, hey, we're going to copy, right? I'll use my name. We're going to copy how Robin Lavasser does her loan presentation. It works. It works. And while I might have my own flair to it, I'm still going to sing that song that blew up, that was a classic, that made it to the top of the charts. I don't need to recreate the wheel. I'm going to use what other people have already done well, and I'm going to repackage it, if you will, in my world and make it fantastic. That's what I'm going to do. And so when you really, really think about a Post Malone show, if you will, I went in there with trepidation, just like maybe a client goes into making a big decision, not knowing whether or not I would find any joy or value, if you will, in the time I was about to spend. And yet, to my surprise, I not only loved the show, I would put him as one of the top shows that I've ever seen. He was that entertaining. And when I really think about the why, I think about all of the things I just shared with you: his confidence, his humility, his storytelling, his joy, his comfort in not only who he is, but his gratitude for who others are and how they've contributed to his success, his focus at all times on the audience and them having a blast, his ability himself to let loose and have fun with them. How often do we just need to let a little loose, right? Tell a joke, have a little fun with a client, with a referral partner. Laughter goes a really long way. And I can't tell you how often I laughed during that concert. And I thought to myself as I'm leaving, I love him. I love Post Malone. That was a kick. Now, I don't know that he's going to be at the top of my playlist because all those covers aren't necessarily recorded by him, but I had a blast watching him. And if anybody ever said to me, should I go watch Post Malone? I'm more of a country music type of gal, and he's not really country music. I would say all day, go see that show. In fact, I would recommend it as a 10 out of 10 for people. And that's exactly what we're trying to do in our own business, you guys. We are trying to become 10 out of 10s for people, regardless of what they expect, that they can come to you, that you can be a bit of a chameleon, if you will, and have a lot of joy doing it, but ultimately stay focused on them and the joy that they get out of it alongside your own. So be that pros pro, get a little Post Malone, and yeah, maybe eliminate the cigarettes and the cuss words, but have a blast, have confidence, have humility, have gratitude, put on a great show, and serve people at the highest level. If this was helpful, I hope that you share it. We will see you on the next Wild.